Hmm. Hello, everybody. All right. All right. So YouTube was being a little slow there and turning on there. That's why it was taking so long before I did that last mic. So, you do anything major today, Rick?
No, just went to church. That's about it. My Sunday's been fairly boring.
Hmm.
It's a typical Sunday for me, really, though, for the most part. Even before you know, my mom died, it would be a typical Sunday for me. Go to church, come home, just watch videos on YouTube. Um, although I need to start making videos for my channel again, but other than that,
Well, at least now that you're back, in your original home, there, you probably you can set some time aside to do that now. Still, it's still
well, I'm not
obviously in
exactly.
between job hunting, but go
Yeah,
ahead.
I'm not quite in my original home. I'm in my original province. I'm not in Hamilton
Yeah.
though, which is where I was.
Right, right.
But
I think you knew what I meant,
yeah.
right?
But I'm still not in my own real apartment, as most people know or might know. I'm in a camper at the moment in my dad's backyard.
Hmm.
Camper, but it's something that I can, have a bit of privacy in, go and visit my dad, 2 or 3 times a day,
Hmm.
watch something with him on TV for half an hour, something like that. Well, and I was just doing that just before I came on with you. I was in there,
Hmm.
watched some stuff on YouTube with him that he had put on, and out then came to about 10 to, and I'm like, okay, gotta go get on my buddy's show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So hopefully we'll get some viewership and stuff like that, and hopefully people will decide to pop in here soon. But anyways, it's all right. Yeah. So anyways, um, yeah, I should be trying to drive the conversation a little bit more. Let's
Yeah,
see. So let's see. We're now coming up on 4 minutes here. So, well, Rick, you wanna give an intro? You wanna do your intro?
well, uh,
You know the
as as most people know, I'm Rick Piper of Cross Comics, as my little name tag here says. Yeah, and I have a YouTube channel called Cross Comics. Um, it's supposed to be about my comic company. Right now, it's more just about me and my life, and I'm chilling. I have a chill stream, and try and put up stuff about my comics every so often. Still, in some way, shape, or form. But um, yeah, if you sounds interesting to you, go check it out. Just
all
have
right.
a like I said, a chill stream on Tuesdays where we just chill, talk about this, that, and everything.
All right. So let's see. So, well, with the conversation dying out pretty quickly here, let's go ahead and see if we can find maybe any interesting stories to look over, to really get the conversation juices going, as it were. Let me just see here what's going on.
Yeah. And how did your Sunday go?
Uh, Pretty much same as always. Got it. Well, I basically got caught up playing a video game, or a game last night on arcade spot. block puzzle. So I was up till like 4:30 this morning. So so I got up around 9:30, and then got myself up, dressed, went up to the store, grabbed my energy drink, came home, got caught up on all my subscriptions, my YouTube subscriptions. Got the invite sent out, prep today's show, and then just kill a little more time before
before coming on.
yeah,
Yeah.
before
So
I
4:30.
even took a nap around 3:30. I just decided to take a nap to
So yeah. So 4:30 in the morning. Well, you were going to bed about the time I was getting up.
yeah. Okay, here looks like a pretty interesting story. Usually I don't do as much with movies, but this one looks interesting. Let's see, pull this up here. Go over this. And I didn't do the movies as much, but since it says animated movie, Zack Snyder is open to the idea of continuing his Justice League trilogy with animated movies. Were you about to say something, Rick?
No.
Okay. Let's do one
Although
more thing
talking
here.
about movies, a trailer did drop this week for something sort of niche-ish. A new Transformers animated movie is dropped. A trailer for it. So that seemed interesting. It's about Megatron and Optimus Prime before they became Optimus Prime and Megatron.
Yeah. So Zack Snyder is open to the idea of continuing his Justice League trilogy with animated movies. Article by J.B. Augustine, published on April the 18th, which is of course Thursday. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. And this is Steppenwolf, who's played by Sharon Hines. Shows up to fight the Amazons and take the Mother Box in Zack Snyder's Justice League 2021. So continuing the Snyderverse at this stage of the game, when James Gunn and Peter Safran through DC Studios are closing in on the end zone with their vision, hoping they won't fumble. However, there might be a way to finish the story without overriding Gunn's DCU or breaking the bank. Zack Snyder recently they showed that he was warm to the idea of restoring his continuity in animated form. When he was interviewed by Empire Magazine via Screen Rant, he said, quote, "Yeah, absolutely, that'd be fun, that'd be cool," unquote, at the prospect. It might not
And
be.
it would be a lot cheap.
Oh,
I
go
was going
ahead.
to say it would be a lot cheap. It'd be definitely a lot cheaper because all the special effects would just be animated and all that. In the cartoon, that's a lot cheaper. My only question is, although I doubt it's going to be said in here, maybe it would, um, is getting the voices of the various characters, whether they would be up to, doing the voices
Well,
for it.
here's another interesting idea. If he's transitioning his trilogy from the live action screen to animated form, right? From live action to animated, would he be using the same Would he be using the same actors to just simply voice the characters? That might also be
Yeah,
somewhat.
that's sort of what I was going with.
Okay, because voice acting is a little bit different than acting. You're still acting, but there's a little bit more to it too. It's like
Yeah,
there.
But a lot of
there
these guys
there
have
have been
done
some
some voice
mainstream
acting.
actors who, while they've been good actors, just not had much success when they've kind of gone over to voicing stuff. So,
Yeah.
but anyways, getting back to the article as soon as I can, of course. Um, yeah. So it might not be the same as seeing everyone reunited on a set, but Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, and Gal Gadot, particularly reprising their respective parts behind the microphone, is preferable to a graphic novel or standard novelization. You about to say something, Rick? Rick, were you about to say something?
No, I wasn't saying.
Okay.
No, but that speculates that they might be willing to come back to that sentence. Sounds like they might be willing to come back to voice the roles.
Yeah. So the desire might be there at their end. Let's see. See. So every detail of the gritty spectacle Snyder is famous for can be there on screen in living color or grayish tones. All right. Yeah, but one person probably I would say probably wouldn't be coming back would be Ezra Miller. um,
Yeah.
Ray
Well,
Ray.
he
Oh,
might
go
be
ahead.
willing to, but whether they'll bring him back or is it? He might be
Yeah,
willing to come back, but it's a question of whether they would bring him.
yeah. Ray Fisher and Ezra Miller might be too much for some in the fandom and in Warner Brothers offices to stomach, so it's possible that they could be done with DC for good and would sit the revival out. But nothing is set in stone, if anyone's even being discussed. As an Elseworlds project, Justice League Part 2 and 3 would interfere with Gunn's plans, so they'd fit just fine, or wouldn't interfere with Gunn's plans, so they'd fit just fine among the other Elseworld films that the creative head of DC said were in active development.
Well, that's cool.
Oh, look at Superman does his Henry Cavill does his best impression of Jesus in Zack Snyder's oh boy Justice League. Uh, if the continuations are to have a future, the question remains as to where they or the ultimate project could wind up. Maybe it becomes a mini-series or takes the form of a regular show with seasons and episode counts. Either way, the potential continuation of Zack Snyder's Justice League could end up on Max, or maybe it drops on Netflix. Hmm. The campaign
Yeah.
urging the sale of the Snyderverse to Netflix is still out there, regardless of its hopes or how such a deal can be struck. A quizzical a reaction as it would get from the average onlooker, the movement has some legs with WB partnership with streamers to make money off their catalog. Their agreements with Tubi and others, including Netflix, have also given homes to series in limbo, such as Batman Cape Crusader, which is just one animated Batman project that's running space at Amazon. And like the saying goes, there's always room for one more, and perhaps more than that. So there we go with that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Well, definitely interesting. Wasn't that long of an article, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, I think there's some people that would care, and some people that if it happens, fine. If not,
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
I would like to see a real good DC cinematic universe, which they haven't gotten yet. They seem to be having a lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, I love Superman, I love Batman, but that's what we all most of the time ever seem to get. It was nice to get the Aquaman and the Wonder Woman movies.
Mm-hmm.
Something different than, Batman and Superman. Both those two characters have had so many movies, or TV shows, projects, whatever. It's unbelievable. Well, maybe not unbelievable. And also, of course, we had Shazam as well. The real Captain Marvel. You know,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, anyways, I'm just let's see. Review. Okay, that's a review.
uh,
Let's see. Well, I think we've hit on everything here. Let's check out Bleeding Full and see if there's anything over there of interest. Yeah, I don't know if you caught any of Friday's show at all, but there were times we were having some lively discussions there.
no, I didn't catch this Friday's. I don't think.
Yeah. Well, Tim and I were reading from some selections from Fawcett Publications, mostly first issue of Master Comics as well as Wiz Comics. Of course, the thing is with the Wiz Comics one, though, I had trouble reading that because,
Bad scans.
yeah, bad scan.
Mm,
And there's like 4 comic related articles here that are recommended graphic novels, manga, and comic collections at Amazon. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this to see, what they have to say about that there. Recommended graphic novels, manga, and comic collections at Amazon by Avi Green. Oh, so he. Oh, okay, so the Adventure of Die, Massive. Oh, so and Kirby manga.
Massive video
Kirby manga
games. It
movie.
seems.
What was that?
I said a couple of those are video games. Kirby and Mass Effect.
Well, yeah, based on video. Yeah, manga is based on video games. Let's see. GameSpot has an interesting list of manga and graphic novels based on video games that are on sale at sites like Amazon. So here's the GameSpot article here. He's now
We have
referencing
somebody
it.
in the chat. We have somebody in the chat called Hank. Says, "Can I hop on?" Uh,
Can I?
Not sure who you are. Hop on.
Yeah, I'm. Yeah, I don't know who you are either. So I mean, um, usually we don't have people on. We don't let people on unless I don't let people on unless I know them. So um, I don't recognize the name here. But you can stick around, hang out in the chat for a while, and catch a show.
Yeah,
And
and comment from the chat. You know, on whatever we might read or talk about.
yeah. So, anyways, Hank, if you can, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, with that, let's continue on with the article here. Okay, so a huge list of Halo novels are up for grabs, including the first 3 entries in the original Halo book series: Halo: The Fall of Reach, Halo: The Flood, and Halo: First Strike. In total, there are 20 Halo books eligible for the B2G1 offer, um, including various other subseries like the Forerunner saga and the standalone entries like Halo Epitaph. I'm sure Metal, because the gaming arena is more Metal thing. I'm sure he would have more to say on some of this stuff right here.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we continue. And here, let me just.
Zelda fans, I believe.
Where's the link to get? Again, I don't just Hank. I don't just put out the link in the chat. Okay. I usually, if I know if you've been around a while, if I know you, then I usually will send it via email, to the for the panelists here. But
or Facebook or email, or if you happen to know him on Facebook.
Yeah.
If you have Facebook.
So here's well, speaking of which, hey, Metal.
You talking about me behind my back? I'll leave.
No. What I was saying was because the article we're currently reading is involving more like video games, like video game adaptations of manga and comics.
Oh yeah, definitely not my area of expertise. You'll have to move on to the next guy.
Yeah. So anyways, well, now that you're here, Metal, would you like to do a quick intro? Talk about basically talk about any projects you're doing right now.
Yeah, I guess. Hey, I'm the Metal, and I am a creator. Hi, how you doing? I make things like X Dynamis Chaos, which is a series of web novels and web comics, or multiple series of web novels and web comics that you can find over at xdynamischaos.com. I don't have any links handy today. You'll just have to pay attention to my screen. You can see it in my webcam if you look closely. It's very tiny. Or you can find my semi-weekly shows twice a week over on the Vomitorium, where I run Game Central Junction, which is a show about games, tabletop, and collectibles, or Super Serial Showtime, which is a show about serials, movies, TV, novels, comic books, whatever, on Thursdays and Mondays. I want to make sure I have those days in the same order that I introduce them. So yeah, if you like movie media and stuff, anime, we talk a lot about anime. You can find me on Monday. If you like gaming, you can find me on Thursday.
Metal. I'm sorry. I need to interrupt you for a moment. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off here. Hank, who exactly are you? Because you're claiming that you claim I have your email. You claim that I know you, but I don't. If I do, then you're obviously using a name I haven't seen before. But if
this
you
could
are
be
somebody,
Elk.
huh?
Could be Elk.
So who exactly are you? Because oh, you know my email.
Don't recognize the name Hank. ATNK. And hey, Metal, how are you?
Oh, I'm fine.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to cut you off there, Metal. But this guy Hank, I don't even know who he is. He's already asking to hop on, and he's claiming he knows us or knows me already. But but he's not giving a clear indication of who he
Oh.
is. I mean, if but as I said earlier, if it is elk, I did send him the link earlier, and he should know to be able to hop. He can hop on then if this is elk. But if it's not elk, if it's somebody else, you're going to need to tell me who you are, so I know who you are. So and if you are somebody I know, then obviously I'll probably send you the link then. But I'm not just going to send somebody that I don't know or I'm not sure of the link just so they can hop on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and especially the fact that if you're not sure who they are, you don't even know what email address to send it to.
That's another good thing. That's another good thing. So, anyways, I'm sorry about that, Metal.
I was at the end anyway.
All right. Well, if you want to try to finish up.
Oh no, that was it.
And I was just
you cut me off as I was finishing. I was at the end.
Okay. I guess I ended up doing it.
I'm not sure whether you got my DM on Twitter or not, Metal, but sorry about Thursday not getting together with you. I forgot all about it.
I replied back to you
and made a photo for you with bricks. I understand. Okay. I think Hank. I think you have me confused with somebody else. I don't
Unless
draw.
he's talking about me.
Well, Rick, do you remember this?
Do
you remember what this guy's indicate?
I mean, yeah, it sounds like something somebody did for me or recently or whatever. I forget exactly.
Hank, who exactly are you and who do you know on here?
I understand. Well, until we find out more about who he is, maybe we should go on with the article.
Think so, because I mean, I'm not going to stand here trying to play this tag whatever. Anyways, let's get back to this article then. Anyways, and of course, Metal, as you know, you're more than welcome to share any links if you'd like, if you have any available already that you want to share. So, anyways, Zelda fans who want to experience alternate takes on the storylines from the video games can grab the full manga adaptations of the Ocarina of Time and the Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages, plus select volumes of the Twilight Princess manga.
Those are actually pretty good. I have a copy of the Ocarina of Time one right in my room, probably within arm's reach. They're drawn very well, and they're pretty good takes on the stories too.
All right. And as always, guys, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people on, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here we talk about grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and we'll try to answer the questions to the best of our ability. Anyways, so if you prefer your fantasy a bit grittier, there are also several Witcher books and graphic novels to choose from, as well as select Dark Souls and Bloodborne comic collection. Now, that, of course, is from the GameSpot article that Avi is referencing here. Avi is... Oh, and this is a quick one, too. Wow. Some are still on special discount sales, but a few may be passed at the moment. I'm sure these adaptations are worth it if they're manga from Japan. All right.
Okay, so I missed almost all this dinner with family. In like 30 seconds, sum up this article that you just went through.
It was basically, they were just talking about some, I guess, recommended graphic novels, manga, and comic collections at Amazon.
Oh, okay.
I guess these are like some comic graphic novels, manga, and comic collections that are basically being sold on Amazon, and that's basically what it was here. It was a pretty quick article. It wasn't like anything like too like controversial. Like it wasn't something that we're gonna get into a huge debate over. But let's see.
Oh, I was just wondering if it was anything that actually required my input or not.
Yeah.
Well, the input that you gave about the one book.
Yeah. I'm sure you know me, but not being bombed. You did a great job. All right.
Okay.
Here, let me switch over my webcam real quick. I can actually show you the book.
All right. Yeah.
I just need to activate it.
I'll move on to the next.
There we look. See? It's pretty good. Highly recommend people pick it up. The art is great, and it's just Legend of Zelda.
And I basically expanded your screen so you can show.
Yeah. Ocarina of Time. It's even got the art. While it is heavily stylized to the artist, they're trying to capture the look of like the wrong way, the in-game art as much as possible.
All right.
Yeah, and like it's just a really good experience for Ocarina of Time. Highly recommend the whole set to people, and Twilight Princess, especially because like as a video game, Twilight Princess is the most boring Zelda game to me. You can unexpand me. But the story's great, and I actually find the manga a better way to engage in the Twilight Princess story than actually playing the game. Some people would probably like it more than me. I'm a huge fan of Zelda. I still enjoy the game. It's just the most boring one to me, so read the manga instead.
I just want to give you a heads up on the print on Thursday. All right.
Okay. Not sure what that means, but
yeah. So with that, let's get back to articles then. Well, unless of course, Metal. Did you have anything of you wanted to talk about or bring up before we continue on with these articles? Or?
No.
All right. Yeah, actually, Tim and I we actually read some stuff from. I guess I'll unexpand this for a moment and maybe go into that a little bit. This past Thursday, this past Friday, we read through some stuff from Fawcett Comics, Master Comics issue 1, which would eventually become the anthology home for Captain Marvel Jr. and Wiz Comics number 3. So, basically it was some decent stuff in there. I know Tim was a little bit more critical of it because he felt like particularly when we were reading the White Raja feature, he felt that the character got everything was happening too easily for the main character, and therefore felt he couldn't relate to it. And of course, there was kind of a running joke because when we were reading the Ibis story, the Ibis Invincible story, which was the first story we read, at one point Tim was going, "Yeah, Rick's been having, just in case you didn't know, Metal, Rick's been having some technical issues. Hopefully,
okay.
Moment. That's why I think that's why he kind of went out there.
I kind of figured that was the case. Normally, he doesn't just drop out without saying goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't know if you'd heard, but he moved back to Ontario.
Yes, I am aware.
Yeah, okay. So, anyways, but yeah, so during the Ibis story, basically as Tim put it, yeah, two guys, fighting over a girl or fighting over a stick and a girl. So, which of course he was trying to draw a certain he and of course Elk, who was in the chat, was trying to suggest certain innuendo. Well, it was more Elk suggesting the innuendo aspect of it, but that I just didn't agree was really there. So yeah, Hank says we draw together. So I'm guessing Hank, you probably know Rick then is who you're probably referring to, because I obviously don't recognize your name. So, and I don't draw anything. So, but anyways, so yeah, so that was pretty much we read Ibis and Spy Smasher from Wiz Comics Volume 1 Issue 3, or Volume 1 Issue 3, and we read, of course, Masterman, White Raja, Devil's Dagger, and El Karim. From Master Comics #1. And and it's kind of funny when I was doing the intro stuff for it. I didn't notice this before because I had read some of the El Karim stories before, but I didn't notice this until I really looked at this. El Karim, spelled backwards, is miracle.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's spelled E-L then space C-A-R-I-M. So, let's see. Show the first one again. Well, I'm gonna pull that back up as we're going to get into another article here. I'm just going over what we read on Friday. So, anyways, so let's get ready to continue on though with some articles to discuss. Let me pull that up again. Okay, here's another interesting article here. Let me. Let's see. Some interesting items from the history of Heathcliff Comics. Article by Avi Green, published on the 19th, which is, of course, Friday.
I love Heathcliff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I remember the cartoon back in the 80s, Heathcliff and the Cadillac Cats. Let's see. I'll just go into Facebook real quick to see if Rick had maybe trying to message me about anything, but he didn't. So, anyways,
Did you know Heathcliff is still being made?
I wasn't aware that it was still being made, but it would.
Yeah, I think it's like by the nephew of the artist or whatever. I forget his nephew's name, but it's actually still being made. And it's crazy. It's become like meme culture. It's funny.
Okay, and it looks like Rick is trying to come back here. Let's see, device not connected, so might have to wait a sec here. Because I'm just got a blank white thing here. I guess he's still having some difficulty. But oh, there he is, finally. You left us, my friend.
Okay.
You
He's
left
coming
us.
to us from the void.
Yeah. Stringer kicked me out again because of internet stuff, and then I figured I'd restart my laptop to see whether that would help any, and I'm not sure whether it will or not. I think Hank is obviously talking to me that we've drawn together and all that. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I don't draw, so he's obviously not talking to me.
yeah.
I wish I didn't draw.
Anyways, let's get into
And he
this
says,
article
show
then.
the first one again.
All right. So, some interesting items from the history of Heathcliff Comics. Article by Avi Green, published the 19th, which of course was this past Friday. So, North Jersey has some history of the Heathcliff comic strip's late creator, George Gately, who created the Rowdy Kitty 5 years before Jim Davis did Garfield. Parentheses, and the latter's popularity soon overtook the former's.
Which is sad because Heathcliff was always better than Garfield.
Well, I guess that would be at least in your opinion. I mean, I don't have an opinion either way. I remember watching the Heathcliff and the Cadillac Cats cartoon. That one was pretty good. And then of course I'm sure they also got some competition from Marmaduke and well, actually Marmaduke. Actually, there was a cartoon Heathcliff and Marmaduke for a while there as well, and Clifford the Big Red Dog. So, anyways, now getting on to the art. So this is Avi referencing the North Jersey article, I guess. 2 rows of fresh fish chill on ice outside the elite fish market in the colorful port town of Westminster. Or Westminster. From behind the counter, fishmonger Mr. Schultz looks on incredulously. Quote unquote, Geo Gately in faultless looping script is written on the wall above his head. His ire seems focused on a striped feline who stands upright in swim fins atop the fish-filled rack. The cat is wearing goggles on his head and a delightfully devilish look on his face. He's holding a spear. Actually, it does kind of also remind me of the opening to that Heathcliff cartoon I told you about, Heathcliff and the Cadillac Cats, one from the mid-'80s at DQ.
I've never seen it. I've only ever read the comics.
Yeah. The image from the cover of a 1989 Heathcliff comic book is a classic take on the original fat cartoon cat. Unlike his portly peer, Garfield, who arrived after him on the comic strip scene, Heathcliff chose raw fish over lasagna, milkman over postman, street over house, gruff, sarcastic, and adorable. The hellion turned icon found joy in mischief, pain in baths, and satisfaction in thwarting the boisterous neighborhood bulldog Spike. Spike is quite a common bulldog name too. Of course, I know of the MGM Spike, Spike and Tyke of MGM, and I think even
I think
had a bulldog named Spike at one point.
Yeah, I think it's because Spike is actually, outside of media, a common name for bulldogs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyways, oh, did Rick leave us again?
Yes, he popped.
I'm sorry, Rick. I didn't even know you were gone. Oh boy.
Oh, no problem. No problem.
All right. All of it was conceived by George Gately, a former Bergen County resident of rare talent, born on December 21st, 1928, which if he was still alive today, I doubt he would be, but he'd be 95 years old if he was still alive today. George Gately Gallagher, because you were just telling me that his nephew actually is continuing the comic, right?
Yeah, I don't even know how far removed, whether it's like a direct nephew, a grandnephew, or something, but as somebody in his line is still continuing the comic, mostly through online press these days. But I didn't know his full name, which makes him Irish because Gallagher is a very Irish name. But he's alliterated. His parents decided that all his names are going to be G's.
Yeah. Was raised in Bergenfield, so this is obviously New Jersey they're talking about. After graduating from the town's high school, he attended the Pratt Institute in New York City with a view to profiting off his creativity through advertising. His fate had long been sealed, however, for Gately. Ad work proved far too stifling. Gately would later say he wanted to be a cartoonist from the first time he picked up a pencil. Interesting. Let's see.
Cool.
Anyways. Let's see. Doodling was encouraged by his parents. Arguably, it was in his blood. His older brother, John Gallagher, was also a well-known cartoonist and would help him pen Heathcliff, quote unquote, in its heyday. George may have dropped his last name professionally to avoid confusion. After Gately's 1998 retirement, so he would have been 70 at that point. His nephew Peter Gallagher picked up the pencil and ensured the strip's survival.
Okay, so it was his direct nephew. Okay.
Well, I guess we found out, didn't we?
Yeah, I knew it was some type of nephew relation. I just didn't know if
Yeah.
it was like one generation, 2 generations removed.
Yeah. Named for the character in Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights, quote-unquote Heathcliff, premiered in print in 1973. That would have meant that Garfield came about in 1978 then, if it was 5 years. The Tabby quickly gained a following in Gately's 2001, so he died in 2001. That would have most likely made him 73, I believe. So 3 years after he retired. In the Los Angeles Times, the newspaper said 900 protest letters forced the paper to reinstate the strip after quote-unquote Heathcliff was pulled in 1974.
Oh, wow.
So, after capturing the 1970s, the Street Smart Cat peaked in the 80s. 2 separate animated series had Mel Blanc voicing the cat. There's another little tidbit for you there. Another little connection for you, because I know Mel Blanc is the one voice actor you said you do know of. Were you aware that he did Heathcliff, though?
I wasn't, but I do remember the series, or at least one of them.
I was asking Metal.
One voice actor. I know a lot of voice actors. What are you talking about? I thought you were talking to Rick when you said that.
No, I mean, well, because you said you distinctly, okay. You said in terms of the older ones, I remember you said you distinctly remembered hearing about Mel Blanc, and I guess your dad.
Oh yeah, but that was like when I was much younger, before I started knowing people's name. And if I recall that conversation, I was trying to relate like what voice actors may a normal person know, like your average non-incorporated individual. Like yeah, before the age of 10, I knew who Mel was. Right. These days, I know a lot of voice actors, even some older ones.
Yeah. Anyways, voicing the cat, an incomparable legend in voice acting who powered Bugs Bunny, Porky Pig, and Barney Rubble, Blanc solidified Heathcliff's status as an endearing wise guy. You know, it's kind of funny they mentioned Mel Blanc here because I think it was this past week on Wednesday, right? This past Wednesday, MeTV on their Tune In With Me show. They were talking about some of the classic voice actors in their heyday. They had on a couple of voice actors on there. They had on the guy who, based on what I could tell from what they were talking about, could be considered the modern day Mel Blanc, Eric Bauza, because he's doing a lot of the same characters Blank did.
Yeah.
Woody Woodpecker, most notably, but also he's done Bugs Bunny. He's done a number of the Looney Tunes characters as well. They also had Mona Marshall on there, who's of course well known for doing one of the female voice actresses, well known for doing a lot of prepubescent boy characters. So, anyways, ever relatable, the rotund cat steals, but he also stands for workers' rights. He has a loyal best friend in innocent Iggy, and ever out of reach crush in sleek Sonia, and a less than ideal role model in convict Pops Heathcliff. All right.
And hello, Elk.
Hey Elk, I sent you the link, so if you want to go ahead and pop in with us, you're more than welcome. Hail Xenu and Xena, Mike, Rick, Metal, and Hank. So yeah, Elk. As I said, I sent you the link to your email if you want to. Yeah. Oh, awesome. Yeah. So if you want to come in and join us, you're more than welcome to. Anyways, getting back to the article here. So there's a print version of Heathcliff, I guess, in the thing coming out of the right side of his mouth there, or the left side of his mouth. That Heathcliff had a voice in the cartoons is surely the oddest part of adapting to cartoons. In contrast to how Snoopy's animated counterpart in Peanuts cartoons usually didn't speak. Ruby Spears and Deke, who oversaw the two productions, it was Deke that did the Heathcliff and Cadillac Cats production. I do remember that. Must have decided it was the best way to compete with Garfield, whose own cartoons began just 4 years after Davis launched the strip in 1978, so 1982. While Heathcliff took at least 7 years to be adapted, up to 1980, and Marvel published a series in the mid-1980s, originally under their Star Comics imprint.
Yeah, until you mentioned that Mel voiced him, I would have had no clue that he had a voice in the cartoon, having never seen it. He never talks in the strips at all. He's just a cat. Sometimes he meows, but that's like it.
Yeah. So.
Oh wow! I never knew
There's
that.
I
never really.
They're not really saying anything, but they'll say the word meat, right? But that's like you implying that they're meowing for meat.
Yeah. Well, hey, Elk, how you doing?
Good. Sorry I'm late. Had a friend over. We were watching some sci-fi, some Fallout, a couple of episodes, and a couple of episodes of the remake of Battlestar Galactica. So, yeah, had a good afternoon.
All right. Did you want to do a bit of an intro, maybe promote anything you're doing or anything like that before we can move on?
Sure. I'm putting together more slowly than I'd like a show based on Kendra G's singles, where it's middle-aged single people. Hopefully they're single in the Alberta area who would like some extra attention on their dating profiles. It's a lot of fun when it actually happens, but it's taken me a while to put it together. So that's what I'm working on, and future to be announced, I guess.
All right. And if you want to share a link to your YouTube channel for anybody who might want to go check that out, you're more than welcome to as well. And as a reminder, of course, you can always open up a second window to make sure you can still watch through YouTube and through the StreamYard as well. Just so you know. So, anyways, getting back to the article here. So we're talking. This article is about the Heathcliff, comic and cartoon a bit. Had you read the comic or watched the cartoon growing up, Help?
I watched Heathcliff quite a bit. Yeah, not so much the cartoon; it's his weekly strip.
All right.
I never read the cartoon or looked at the cartoon. Well, like the comic strip, but I watched the one of the shows back when it was on the air in the '80s. So
Yeah. Well, the one I watched was Heathcliff and the Cadillac Cats. One of the other interesting little tidbits for that, and I would highly recommend you guys check it out, at least for not for this one thing. They so the Cadillac Cats were Hector, Wordsworth, and Mungo. Okay, and they lived in this kind of beat up trailer that could actually transform into a car and into like a hydroplane, or a hovercraft rather. So, just something you guys might want to check out if you ever have a chance. So, anyways, getting back to the article here, and of course, as always, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and/or ask questions. We'll try to answer the questions to the best of our ability. So, much like Garfield, I also read. Okay, this is Avi speaking, obviously. Much like Garfield, I also read Heathcliff in my youth. Found it amusing in its own way, even if its idea of surreal comedy differs from that of Garfield. In parentheses, and unlike the latter, the former's daily strips were often single panel, in contrast to Garfield's three. Um, and I sure hope that as a strip, that may still be in publication by Gately's nephew. It still retains a decent sense of humor that isn't tarnished by the political correctness that's become a sad staple today.
Oh no, like I said, the strip that's going on right now is basically like meme culture. Like it's funny. There's almost I don't think there's anything political to it at all. It's just similar type of scenarios, but geared towards specifically Zoomers and Gen Alpha meme culture.
What's Gen Alpha?
That is the current kids after Gen Z.
Now, Gen Z or Zoomers are so the Zoomers are they? What are they now? What, like 25 to 30 or?
Zoomers currently, let me think. They should be in their 20s in general, right? Like from like 20 to maybe 27-ish or so. There might be a little that are still graduating, but the current teenagers past them and middle school kids are alpha.
Okay. So the current high school and middle school are
the people who are a generation and 2 generations younger than me are what that comic is targeted at right now, because I'm on the lower end of millennials.
Okay. So with that, then, let's check out the next article because there are like 4 articles here. Marvel Comics Werewolf by Night gets violent red band treatment. Gets violent red band treatment. All right. Well, let's check out what this one's saying. And this article was from yesterday. So, Marvel Comics Werewolf by Night gets violent in smaller quote red band treatment. Article by Chris Braley, published on April 20th, which was yesterday. So, let's check this one out. This summer, Werewolf by Night embarks on new adventures so violent and bloody that it's one that can only be told in Marvel's new red band format, a callback to their Max line, or a version similar to DC Comics Black Label. So obviously a very like R sounds like an R-rated or above R-rated comic, I guess.
Probably either AA, which would be adult complement, or R. Yeah, I don't think it would be beyond R. I don't think it would be X or triple X.
Yeah,
that sounds like it's going to be
even if they do put genitalia or anything in there, I don't think Marvel's ever really gone full blown sex, which is what would require it to be closer to X rated.
Yeah. Let's see. Werewolf by Night, Jack Russell's new solo ongoing series, will be written by Jason Liu, writer of the upcoming Werewolf by Night Blood Hunt, one-shot, and drawn by artist Sergio Davia, known for his work on titles like Venom and Thor. Marvel's premier horror icon will undergo a startling transformation during Blood Hunt that will cause his upcoming battles and hunts to be too graphic for some readers. Labeled with a parental advisory and polybagged to keep those weak of heart from experiencing its intensity, Werewolf by Night will mark a new chapter in the character's 50-year storytelling history as Jack gets his claws, fangs, and fur blood soaked like never before. So I'm guessing Jack is the name of the werewolf then. That's what I'm guessing here, right?
The human.
Jack Russell. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I've never read Werewolf by Night. It's one of those things that I've always known
Yeah, me
existed and had no interest in.
Yeah. My guess is Tim might be into this because I know Tim is apparently one into like horror 70s into Marvel, so I'm sure he might have some comments on it. Anyways, as always, guys, haven't already, if you guys can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. We'll try to answer the questions to the best ability. So, continuing on here, Jack Russell has been trying to live a simple life, but in the deadly.
That's funny.
What was that?
I'm just saying that's funny that his name, I never knew what his human name is. And of course, Jack Russell is a breed of dog.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Jack Russell Terrier. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of
Kind
of ironic that they have a Jack Russell as a werewolf and there's a Jack Russell Terrier because, from what I understand, I think wolves and dogs are kind of part of the same.
They are both Canis lupus. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I
were...
laugh because I think that's well, I think they did that on purpose. Whoever created Werewolf and 30 years ago.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna laugh because you thought it was funny that anybody who exists in a Marvel comic was trying to live an ordinary life.
Oh yeah, there's that too. No, Peter Parker tries to, but can't. Because bit by a spider.
Well, that's the problem, right? Like anybody who would try to in a Marvel comic, it's never going to work. It just wouldn't be interesting to read anyway.
No. Elk, did you have anything to say on this stuff so far?
I appreciate the invite. I'm a bit ignorant. I just remember Heathcliff was like a sort of a streetwise cat, and his parents were like loving and buffoonish, and like he was smarter than his parents. I don't really have a lot of memories of Heathcliff. I wish I could contribute more, but there I am.
Yeah. Well, we've moved on from that article, right?
Oh, darn. Okay. Yeah, no, sorry. I have nothing to contribute. I am chasing my own.
We're reading an article about Werewolf by Night.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Yes, it could be a real horror book.
You have all said. Totally.
Yeah. All right. All right. So, anyways,
hey, live a simple life.
Yeah.
What?
I'm just let's see. Oh, Jack Russell. Okay, yeah, simple life. But in the deadly and dramatic wake of the blood hunt, his life is about to be turned upside down in ways he never imagined. With new enemies hoping to extract a, in parentheses here, literal pound of flesh, and Jack unsure if he can be trusted around old allies and a lost love, the original Werewolf by Night is back and in the fight of his life. Quote, I give Jack Russell a taste of the life he wants before the blood hunt event rips it away and leaves blood on his hands, unquote, Lou shared. Quote, His new journey is to find redemption while figuring out his new lycanthropic transformation.
Lycanthropic.
Like a lycanthrope is a werewolf.
Right.
Yeah.
Lycanthropic. Yeah. I just wasn't sure if because of the slight change there, if it was lick or like, but okay, lycanthropic. No one is safe when the full moon is out, but luckily, Elisa Bloodstone is around to keep him in check. Unquote. Quote, our team is delivering a very metal monster comic, and we're not holding back, unquote, Luke continued. Quote, I'm both shocked and impressed at myself for conjuring up these gruesome scenes from the dark recesses of my mind. Then seeing them come to life with every gory detail, thanks to penciler Sergio Davia and inker J.T. Meyer, as our editors keep giving us a thumbs up of approval. This is literally our smash room in a red band comic, unquote. Sounds like he's having fun.
Yeah, and it sounds like not that I'll probably read it. I'm not really a horror fan, but it sounds like it might actually be a decent comic by Marvel. Figures they have to go into a horror story to make a decent comic.
Well, yeah. Well, how do you interject politics into a horror comic, right?
Easy.
Yeah.
I'm sure they would find it.
One thing I always loved, or one thing I always wish I had done since I was a little kid, one of the many, many comics I wrote in my mind was I wanted to write a comic based on the Celtic Master of the Hunt myth. And he's a guy who comes out in the new moon, or I think it's the new moon, not the full moon, and with a pack of dogs, which at the time were probably inseparable from wolves. So whether he has dogs or wolves is probably a moot point. He would come out with a pack of them and he would ride through the night. And he was, in different interpretations, he was kind of a nihilist, horrific character, sort of like a No Country for Old Men type world where death is around every corner and there's no human restraint or morality or anything like that. He was just master of the hunt of like tracking down and killing prey. And that's something I think it's an ancestor of the werewolf myth. Or I think the werewolf myth was probably derived from the Master of the Hunt, but it's not something you see a lot of werewolves, but I've never really seen a like long form story about the Master of the Hunt.
Yeah,
and it's something I always wanted to do. Yeah.
Now, Metal, you said it was actually easy to inject politics into a horror story. I don't get when I'm kind of curious because it's like with the horror, a lot. I guess for most people, a lot of the appeal to horror stories is the blood and gore.
Well, I mean, it depends on what type of horror story you're writing. Yes, if you're just doing I guess you call it gore porn, right? If you're just doing a slasher, like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, then sure, it could be simple. But a lot of horror, especially as you get into the more thought-provoking stuff, is less to do with whatever is causing the horror and more to do with the human reaction and interactions with other people.
Oh, you're talking about more like the psychological horror.
Well, I mean, even in a werewolf story, you could end up focusing more on the people being tormented by the werewolf than the werewolf itself, right? Like, A Wolf Among Us is all about the people not knowing who the actual werewolf is. So there's internal politics to it. And anytime there's internal politics means it's pretty easy to interject external if you feel inclined to. Or zombie stuff. A lot of that is about the actual survivors in the zombie thing, which often has internal politics, another gateway for doing externals. It really depends on what type of horror story that you're writing.
Yeah. It's kind of funny you mentioned zombies because I know I guess in recent years, particularly on the manga anime side of it, there have been, I guess, more like zombie apocalypse type stories coming out over the past, I don't know if it's like 10 years or so. You got High School of the Dead, you got School Days, and the one that's on Toonami right now, Zom 100 Bucket List of the Dead. Got all these, you do seem in the past few
Well,
years
School
here.
Days is more of a dealing with a psychopath story.
Okay, maybe I have the wrong title then, because the one I'm talking about, the one I'm thinking about is these four girls who basically have to end up living out of their school because basically everybody's becoming a zombie all over the world. I may have the wrong title then if it's not School Days. But the one I'm thinking of, you have I know that the Houston voice actor crew was I think Sentai that did the dub. Sentai Seraphim did the dub of it.
Okay, yeah, I don't know the name of that one. I've seen School Days though, and which is based off of a visual novel, and that one had multiple endings. They chose one of the better endings for the adaptation, but that's one of those like famous yandere characters where she's like trying to kill off her competitors.
Okay, maybe I just have the wrong title then. Maybe I just have
unless there's more than one School Days, that could also be the case. But the really popular one with the name, in one of the endings, she even has one of the other girls' head in a bowling ball bag.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's finish up this article and see what else we can find after that. Quote: "This has been a great experience." Unquote. Davia added. Quote: "Jason Liu is writing a very wild werewolf by night, and I'm having a lot of fun with the character. I've always enjoyed taking characters to the extreme, and Werewolf by Night is someone very much tormented by his inner self. So this is a book full of intense action and lots of blood." Unquote. Check out EM Gist cover and pre-order Werewolf by Night #1 at your local comic shop. Oh, there we go with that one. Oh, anybody have anything more to say about that particular article? Did we move on?
Yeah. Well, just like I said, hopefully they don't inject anything else into it, and they just do a good horror comic with it. Horror comics aren't my thing, but hey, for those that it is,
Look like
all
it
the
looked like
best.
Elk is yeah, it looked like Elk has changed his avatar there, I guess.
I'm just experimenting. Pardon me. I don't get these chances to actually live broadcast and muck around a bit. Thank you for your tolerance. But yeah, actually, the Werewolf by Night it's one of the only Marvel comics that actually sounds appealing to me. That's something I might actually pick up. Yeah, I love werewolf stories, always have since I was a little kid. Werewolf and vampire stories, I'm a sucker for. Even the terrible ones like Twilight and so on. Just I'll go for if it's got a werewolf or a vampire in it, I'll probably pick it up. Yep.
Well, if you do pick it up, you'll have to let us know in the chat what you think of it after you read it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on. Let's move on to the next article because again they had like 4 articles. Original comic adaptation of Jim Henson's The Dark Crystal returns, which was published yesterday as well, the 20th. Let's see. Original comic adaptation of Jim Henson's, smaller quotes, The Dark Crystal returns. Article by John Pallister. And it was published yesterday, April 20th, 2024. Well, look at that art right there. What do you guys think of that art?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. I've never read the comic, but I have seen the movie. I've seen it as a kid myself. I don't think I've seen it in theaters, but my dad rented it or whatever, or my mom rented the video or whatever. I liked it. I know that. I I actually believe I actually have it in storage. I got it a couple years ago on video for an anniversary edition, I think it was.
Mhm.
I'm only
Jim
just now
Jim
learning there
Henson.
was an adaptation, a comic adaptation of those movies.
Yeah, well, I didn't even know that there was a comic adaptation either. So,
Jim Henson's The
and
Dark Crystal Archive Edition #1, main cover art by Brett Blevins and Vince Coletta. So, the classic 3-issue 1983 comic book adaptation of Jim Henson's The Dark Crystal from writer David Anthony Kraft, who also did in parentheses here The Savage She-Hulk, and artists Brett Blevins and Vince Coletta, has been fully restored and will be returned to print as part of the Boom Studios Archive Edition line.
cool.
Somebody was about to say something?
I just said cool.
Huh. For the uninitiated, the story is set 1,000 years ago on the planet Thra, as two new races appeared when a shard was shattered from the Crystal of Truth. The cruel Skeksis, who used continued corruption of the crystal to extend their lives, and the gentle Uru, more commonly known as mystics, who make their home in the Valley of Stones to await their destiny. Interesting beings here, huh? What are those, like cow ears or something like that?
I've never really could decide what they were supposed to be. They were always mouse-ish to me, though, in general. But they were always... I like the designs. I think Jim and his company, the Henson Company, always does great designs. And for something that wasn't your traditional, like, monster Muppet and had to have more of a human-esque form, I thought they were pretty good.
Yeah.
I always thought they were guinea pigs, like thinned guinea pigs is what they...
Yeah, I can see that. They're definitely something that's like rodent-esque in some way.
Yeah.
Oh, so rodentia, basically.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. The ears and the chin line and the cheek line, they always seemed like thinned. Yeah, like I said, probably any kind of rodent. But guinea pig...
got that very rodent nose.
Yeah.
Yeah, they almost look ratish. Ratish.
Yeah. A young orphaned gelfling named Jen is sent on a quest to heal the crystal, but enemies aren't all he'll find in the wild. Oh, so in their world, Jen is actually a guy's name, I guess.
It is sometimes in our world too. Depends where you are.
Yeah. Jim Henson's The Dark Crystal Archive Edition #1 will be available in comic shops July 3rd, 2024. So one day before Independence Day. So there we go with that one. That
or
one
2 days after Canada Day.
Yeah. So there we go. That one was a pretty quick article. And that was the last article there. So.
I've always been suspicious or more intrigued by stories, especially old stories, that link trying to extend your life to corruption of some sort. There's definitely that mythic link. I don't think so much, even now, I guess, there are stories written about it. But this idea that to dare as a human to try to extend your life was actually evil and corrupt and somehow like inhuman or unnatural. I always found that interesting, that especially like fairy tales, Brothers Grimm or something like that, back before modern medicine, basically, or back before the 20th century, this linkage of the idea that for a human to dare to try to extend their life, that they must therefore be corrupt and evil and robbing some unnatural source of power.
Mm-hmm.
Be
Yeah,
intrigued.
because it's definitely there's a lot of overlap with that with general human avarice, right? Like you want something you can't have, which eternal life seems to be one of those things. And in some cases too, it feels like people are playing in the domain of the gods, right?
Yeah, that's actually definitely one thing I thought, is that it might be seen as intruding on religion, because God has given you a version, or the Christian God has given you a version of how life should unfold. Your life unfolds as it should according to God's plan, and that it ends, and then you're given your just reward. So you should be happy with that. And the idea that you're not happy with that, that you actually want to extend your life, I think is seen in Christian societies, at least, as a desire to subvert the will of God and to not trust God to judge you properly at the end of your life, perhaps, and for God not to have the proper plan for the beginning and end of your life. Like,
I can see similar things in other religions too.
Christian, yeah, it's a competing explanation for the meaning of life.
Yeah, well, I would see, well, with the Christian God thing and somebody trying to take the, get the whole extra, long life or eternal life, immortality, if you will, it is trying to almost become God, in a sense, taking, instead of trusting God with your life or whatever,
you're not trusting God to
you're,
unfold your life as it should.
you're taking, your eternal thing, trying to take God's place in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
But for like a lot of
going to Him.
other
I wonder
cultures,
if other societies have similar tales. Like, I wonder if, like,
they do,
or Confucian tales exist of trying to extend your life is, it's bending and corrupt and twisted. And
I
sort
can
of like
name
Dorian
one
Gray,
from
even
Scandinavian.
Oh, really? Yeah, because I always
Right.
think of Dorian Gray when I think of that.
So in Scandinavian, in the Poetic Edda, there is the story of Fafnir, who was once a mortal. Sometimes he's said to have been a dwarf that was greedy. Sometimes he's a man. It depends, because there's multiple versions. Usually it's a man. But Fafnir was a very greedy person who was looking for treasure of all sorts. And extended life is one of those treasures. And he walked into the domain of a dragon, and the dragon was no longer there. And wanting everything that belonged to the dragon, Fafnir eventually became the dragon himself.
Oh,
Right. So a lot of it is avarice, I think, is a big key on it. Even wanting to play in the domains of the gods is kind of a form of human avarice. Right?
I need to step away from the computer for a moment. I'll be right back.
Or you also have the story of Siegfried, who he didn't necessarily want immortal life, but he ended up eating the heart of a dragon, which gave him immortality, and he could still technically die. He would just always re-rise every time, and it became more of a curse to him than a blessing over his
Is that out of the ring
life.
cycle? Is that the Nibelung, or is that the ring cycle myth?
Trying to remember where, because Siegfried's story is a really long one of his own. I'm trying to remember which cycle it was in.
Because you do have the alternate explanations too. You have King Arthur and you have Frederick Barbarossa, who are both kings that have died that will rise again in the time of greatest need of their kingdom. So you have the King Arthur, which seems to me kind of the opposite of the corruptness of the extending your life, is that letting your life end.
And you'd be rewarded,
And you'd be rewarded. You'll be preserved, ready to rise again when your people need you. Which seems
that's sort of the Buddhist mindset, right? Where it's instead of focusing solely on whatever you want, if you go out of your way to help others, you'll actually find that you're closer to your destination than if you just focused on yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure the Greek and Romans have, because I'm sure I've heard things of tales for them trying to get extended life or eternal life or whatever.
The Greeks were pretty much
to
always punished anytime they tried to do anything on terms with the gods, right? Like if you lived a mortal life, you were fine. If you tried to be like the gods, there's very few times where anything ended up working out in your favor.
Yeah, because I know I've heard, I can't remember any instances, but I've heard various tales. I was thinking the Phoenix, but I'm not sure whether the Phoenix is Greek or not, or
It
whether
is
it's
Greek.
some other.
The word phoenix is Greek.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it
I
was, but it wasn't 100%.
Book of the Dead, where you actually have it's like laid out like a script, or just like a magic spell, or not even a magic spell, but just like a to-do list. Like when you die, you do X, Y, and Z, and that will take you to heaven.
Yes.
And that's what the Book of the Dead is supposed to. It's like a map almost. You go across a river, you talk to this dude, you give him some 7 seeds or something like that. But it's just laid out like a to-do list for you to do after you die.
And even the oldest story that we currently have on record, the Epic of Gilgamesh, is a story about the corruption that happens when you seek immortality. By the end of the story, Gilgamesh doesn't get it, and he returns back to his kingdom as an old and withered man who's finally ready to rule his people in a proper way.
Yeah, and what he competes with Enki, I think, in the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Yeah, well, at the very beginning, they do have a wrestling match, and Enki kind of like earns. It's very weird with the translation. You can read it multiple ways, but Gilgamesh was probably bi, because you could read that he loved Enki like he would love a woman. So they kind of just become this weird bromance. This is like the first buddy road trip story ever recorded, and they go all over the place because he's personally trying to get immortality so he can lead his kingdom forever as this kind of demigod. He's 1/3 god.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got to reread a version or two of Gilgamesh, because it used to. God, back in high school, it was one of my favorite stories, and yeah, I got to reread it. It's been 30 years since I read a Gilgamesh epic. I've heard it referred to on the backhand lots of times, but yeah, I've got to go.
That's like the oldest story we currently have, and
Yeah.
it is one of those ones where somebody kind of gets punished. He loses Enki in his quest because they anger the gods at one point. Enki dies in a battle with the gods.
Yeah, it's the father of literature, and it has, dare I say it, like a same-sex romance in it, and it's the first story ever, and it's the gods doing it, so it's not an ungodly thing. It's like part gods are the ones engaging in it. Just an interesting bit of human behavior and human storytelling, I think.
Oh boy, it looks like Rick's having some problems again. Hopefully that.
Yeah, that story's all over the place. There's a reason they call it an epic, because of how long it is and how many different parts that happen inside of it. It takes like 6 hours to recite, and people used to recite it orally.
What I like about epics is how they're all, especially because most of them were oral originally. There were many versions when they were first recorded. So, and then they're kind of recorded and they're spliced together like a bad editing job. So, at first this person has this set of powers and abilities and characteristics, and or even description, and then another chapter later, they haven't done what they did in the previous chapter. They've done something totally different.
Yeah.
And it's just part of the oral storytelling, and the part.
And especially because of just how many different tribes of people were within those cultures before they come together. Like every tribe's got their own version of it.
Yeah, like all the Vikings, the Danish Vikings, the Netherlands Vikings, the Norwegian Vikings, the Icelandic Vikings, different. Yeah.
Yeah, even the fact they have 2 sets of gods in the Edda, and those even kind of started because they're almost duplicates of each other, because they branched off into 2 completely different cultures, and then one reconquered the other, and it's like, well, we have to keep your gods. So then there's like Odin and Oath, and you have Frigga and Freya, and these are all the same people. There's just duplicates between the Aesir and the Vanir.
Hey, Mike, Metal, Elk Hunter, Talking Wolf. Hey, Apex. You get my message earlier? I was trying to confirm if you were ready for this Friday's historical comic retrospect, and also, And
Oh,
also,
Apex.
if you're not working, I can always send you the link if you want to hop in the chat with or hop in the studio with us if if you want to if you're not working. Yeah, I'll be there Friday. All right. Yeah. This Friday, of course, we're going to be looking at comics from Fiction House. Of course, be reading some Sheena, Queen of the Jungle, as well as and weird stories of the supernatural, and then one story each from Fight Comics, Planet Comics, and Jungle Comics. Yeah. I read Gilgamesh back in college. My first tour of duty in college, as it were. Yeah, it's kind of funny. In that particular class, it was a literature class. I read two of the books that I actually had to read for that class were Gilgamesh and Siddhartha. So that was a pretty interesting.
Okay.
Oh yeah. So, anyways, has anybody been watching any good classic cartoons of late?
It depends what you mean classic. I've been rewatching through all of Ranma 1/2 with the people in my Vomitorium server Saturday by Saturday.
Okay, yeah, that's a classic. That's a classic anime. But what I was more specifically talking about, of course, Golden Age cartoons.
Oh, I've been watching a absolutely mind-blowing Return to the Planet of the Apes 1970s cartoon. And I only watched a couple of episodes, but my gosh, it goes hard to the paint. The opening is a scene. It opens with a scene of sort of a Badlands scene, like I don't know, like the Grand Canyon sort of survey, and they go out and there's all these crucified humans, upside down crucified humans in row after row, ringing a canyon with a giant bonfire that God's talking out of in the middle. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, holy cow, I think this was a cartoon that was like marketed to kids, and it's got human crucifixions as its opening episode. And it turns out it's all psychological. It's the I can't remember which of the movies it was. Was it Beneath the Planet of the Apes, where the humans or the human mutants had only developed mutant powers to place illusions in the minds of people who wander upon their lands. So it turns out these crucified humans in the fire are just illusions placed in there by people who want you to run away. But my gosh, as an opening scene for a kids cartoon, to set up a big valley of crucifixions I was impressed.
Well, yeah, I mean, particularly in the 70s and early 80s, we saw a lot. We saw a lot of that with some of the anime adaptations. Of course, we've talked about, like, I think it was last week we were talking a little bit about it. The Science Ninja Team Gatchaman adaptations, between Battle of the Planets and G-Force and all that, where they when you try to make something more of a kiddie cartoon, and then you see how graphic it can be when we lost Rick again, and now he's back again. Some funky internet for you there, hey Rick?
Yeah, for sure. I'm not sure what's happening, but yeah, I've been slowly watching G.I. Joe from the original G.I. Joe cartoon.
Oh, from the 80s?
Tubi.
Yeah.
And although it's not classic, and I know Metal's going to say something about it when I say this, I just recently watched all the Lower Decks cartoon of
it's
Star
the exact
Trek
opposite of classic.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what's an honest review of your Lower Decks viewing? Because I watched a couple of episodes and I was like, peace, I'm out. this is trash.
Yeah,
But
I watched.
what's your opinion?
I watched the first episode a couple years ago, and I was like, "This isn't really for me." So I just decided to go back, give it a chance. In a lot of ways, it doesn't seem. It seems like Star Trek parroting themselves almost, but at the same time, it has a lot of fan service in it. I would say in watching the 3 seasons because there is a lot of references to stuff that's happened in all the other series and characters and all that. You know,
Does it have any
But-
voices by the original cast, like William Shatner or any of the Uhura or Michelle
not
Nichols?
from.
Did they?
Well, I think aside from, well, let's see. I think there's only 2 or 3 of the original cast members even still live. It's kind of funny because I was just looking at something. William Shatner. Yeah, and Rick's back again. William Shatner's still alive, and I think they were saying he might be
Who's alive?
George
Well,
Takei
there's
is
only
still
3.
alive.
As far as I know, there's only 3 original cast members still alive. William Shatner, the actor of Chekhov, and the actor of Sulu.
Yeah,
So
Walter
I don't think
Koenig.
none of them were in it, but they do have a lot of people that have been in it. Although Riker, Jonathan Frakes, and Marina Sirtis do lend their voices to a couple episodes where you see Riker and Deanna Troi in.
Yeah, the Next Generation
So-
actor. Let's see. Yeah, Apex says I miss the old Hanna-Barbera cartoons of the 1960s. Samson and Wyatt, Birdman, Herculoid, Space Ghost, Frankenstein Jr., etc. Yeah, those are good ones. I remember when I was growing up. By that point, not only did they have their own like shows at times, but they actually packaged all that particular set of cartoons. Those superhero type cartoons, original superhero type cartoons, into something called the World of Hanna-Barbera, the Fantastic World of Hanna-Barbera, or something like that, where they were all like kind of packaged together as a compilation show. That was pretty cool to watch growing up. Yeah, I liked it. Yeah. Yeah, so.
But for any fans that like Star Trek, actually, I think it's worth the watch. At least once through for Lower Decks. I think after you get through the first couple episodes, you should be all right.
And I don't know if I got an answer to this earlier. Apex, if you want, I can send you the link if you want to come in and join us for a few minutes in the studio. As we wind things down here. I just didn't get answers. I don't know if that just meant you were working and weren't available to join us in the studio or what. In the 90s, I enjoyed Space Ghost Coast to Coast. Yeah, that had like 2 or 3 runs, from what I understand. And of course, I think one of the episodes that probably got the most famous was the and yes, there was some innuendo in that one. Was the one where Apache Chief spilled coffee on himself and he lost the power to grow big. Now, of course, that was Adult Swim. That was naturally, of course, there's going to be innuendo in that. So,
who was the radio announcer of Coast to Coast? I used to listen to him when I worked night shifts.
Art Bell.
Art Bell. Oh, I can't.
Yeah,
my
I used to
brain
love
is
Art
not
Bell. He was
working today. I loved Art Bell. I used to listen to him for hours when I worked night shifts, and he was just hilarious. And yeah, he was a great entertainer.
They have a lot of the archives of that on the Coast to Coast channel.
Yeah, I thought he was a great he was a teller of like I could see him around a campfire like 500 years ago, where no radio, no TV, where you're just telling a story. And I just got the idea, and like he was like a druid or something, where he was actually claiming that what he was saying was true, but nevertheless he was also there to entertain you. And that's just my total idea of a modern druid. Like that's what Coast to Coast with Art Bell was someone claiming to be telling you the truth, but of course he didn't believe it himself. But nevertheless, it was interesting to hear people who gathered to be some who gathered to be entertained, and some who actually walked away thinking it was true. I just loved it. Yeah, great show.
Especially the missing 411 stuff.
Mm.
Now, if you guys are truly Star Trek fans and you want to check something out, based on the original series, Metal, you might have heard about this. You might have heard about this. I don't know if Rick, you would have or not, or Elk. If you guys know who, and I'm sure Metal knows Vic Mignogna, and I know Rick knows him because Rick's heard me talk about it.
I know what you're going to talk about. I couldn't get into it.
Oh, you couldn't get Star Trek Continues?
Yeah. I thought Vic did a fine job at capturing the spirit of Captain Kirk. I just could not get into the series.
Yeah, I watched.
They did actually
like 6 or 7 episodes.
Go ahead, Rick.
I thought it was pretty good. I said I watched the 6 or 7 episodes, whatever it is, of it on YouTube. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, you can find it on YouTube if you guys want to, check. Well, 2 of you have already checked it out, but for anybody else who hasn't,
I think all of the actors actually did a remarkable job of trying to portray the characters they were portraying. The quality of the writing just wasn't up to the series that they were continuing, in my personal opinion, and that's why I couldn't get into it.
Right. Well, you had Todd Havicorn in there doing Spock. You had Chris Doohan, James Doohan's son, being Scotty. And they did actually bring back, at least in one case, they did bring back one of the original actors from the series. I can't remember his actual name, but he played Apollo in it.
Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah,
and I know that guy actually did some voice work for back in the 90s and 2000s as well, during the Adult Swim stuff, height of Adult Swim. Let's see. So anyways, is there anything else in the realm? The writing was weak on the new Star Trek cartoon. Yeah, we were talking about Lower Decks a few minutes ago.
Is anyone else watching Shogun? Did anyone else watch Shogun episode 8 this week?
I'm not watching Shogun. I don't watch anything aside maybe from some anime that comes on Toonami, like Zone 100, Bucket List of the Dead, and Ninja Kamui. Aside from that stuff, I don't really watch a lot of newer stuff. I tend to watch more older stuff myself.
Okay. Well, if
it's
you're
on my
looking
list of things to watch, I just haven't gotten to it yet.
Yeah, if you're looking for genre fiction, that's especially if you're particularly looking for contemporary genre fiction, it's great. It's not polluted by what shall not be named, but it's well done. It's a trip down memory lane for me because I watched the original in the 70s, and I have some of my oldest memories are from watching that show, and some of the images on that show and the arguments and so on. Like, I found out that there was such a thing as Jesuits, and that there were 2 different kinds of Christian. There were Catholics and Protestants, and they didn't all love each other and Christian love. And I found out, and episode 8 was one of my oldest memories, was of a noble lord running through the castle while the Osaka castle is assaulted by ninjas, and he keeps going by guard posts. And there are 2 guards standing by the walls at these guard posts, and he tells them, as he's running by them the other way, he tells them to go get the ninjas, and the ninjas just walk through the guards as they appear 2 by 2 like a knife through butter. And that was one of my first impressions of, oh my God, that's a human being who's supposed to be like a noble lord, like a leader of his people, being a completely selfish dick. Like it was just, as some of my first memories of bad behavior come from that TV series. And that's one I remember. And I still remember there was like, one of them was like just a Benedictine monk who was in jail with Shogun, or not Shogun, but with John Blackthorne. And the Benedictine in the original, he says like the Jesuits, it's the Jesuits from hell. And he wasn't quite that over the top in this version, but nevertheless, he was in jail, jailed by the Jesuits because, again, they didn't want him. I think he was a Spaniard, and they didn't want any non-Jesuits horning in on the Portuguese/Jesuit monopoly of Christianity and European trade with the Japanese. So it was just, it was great. It's a great trip down memory lane for me. And I think if people saw it like for the first time now, I think they'd think of it as great as the 70s version was. Although it does suffer from a lot of CGI. And frankly, like my historical dramas or whatever, I think CGI in a way has maybe saved them and wrecked them at the same time, because no matter what period in history you're looking at, CGI buildings and CGI city layouts all kind of look the same to me. They look like sort of video game screens.
Yeah.
So I much like, I remember the 70s where they actually had to find an old building, or they'd mock up like an old hut and that sort of thing. And
the lighting is always better when you make it like that.
Yeah.
Everything just matches.
Yeah, like CGI, it all looks like, it does look like a painting. It looks exactly like a video game, which is where it's rendered from. It's all like a mono palette of colors, and it's all, yeah, it all looks the same. And even CGI cities from different eras in history end up looking the same, because they all just are sort of like roof lines with a little bit of color on them, versus when they actually had to track down real locations and get real sets. But that being said, that's my only little quibble with the modern take on Shogun. It's other than that, it's great. And I remember large parts of it, which I'm happy to do. And there are parts of it that I don't remember. Like I didn't know that on the night that Osaka Castle was taken by ninjas, or raided by ninjas, by Lord Ashito, that the translator that John Blackthorne was romantically interested in, she actually died, and I don't remember that as a kid. And
well, so we don't. I don't think we need spoilers. I mean,
okay.
Spoilers. Some of this is old history.
Yeah,
they exaggerate and change a lot, but some of this is actual old history.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we are at an hour 48. So I figured it's about time to wrap up. If you guys can stick around for a couple minutes after we end the stream, just for post-show wrap-up kind of thing, that'd be appreciated. But with that, we're going to get to our last segment of the show, this weekend in Niche history. And then we'll go ahead and do the outros for everybody. We'll go counterclockwise. We'll start with Rick and go counterclockwise, and then wrap things up. So with that, today being Sunday, April 21st, 2024, let's take a nice little trip down history lane here as we take a look back at this day, or this weekend rather, in Niche history. And first off, of course, we're going to go back 90 years ago yesterday. 90 years ago, April 20th, 1934. And on April 20th, 1934, 90 years ago yesterday, the Terrytoons cartoon, Just a Clown, premiered in movie theaters on yesterday's date, 90 years ago today. A clown saves a beautiful circus performer from a lion and wins her heart. This is, of course,
he wasn't clowning around.
Yeah. This is produced by Terrytoons, which would later, of course, become the company known for giving us Mighty Mouse. So 90 years ago yesterday, this the Terry Toons short, Just a Clown. History, yep, history. Right. 90 years ago yesterday, the Terry Toons short, Just a Clown, premiered in movie theaters. Now I just remind myself, 94, 84, and 99. Okay. All right. So now going back 40 years ago today, on this date 40 years ago today, in Greensboro, North Carolina, at a Jim Crockett Promotions show, Ricky Steamboat defeated Dick Slater to become the new NWA United States Championship. This was, of course, the Mid-Atlantic version of the NWA United States Heavyweight Championship. At this point, it had become the final version, as the other two prominent versions, San Francisco and Detroit versions, had been retired in 81. So, so on this date, 40 years ago today, Ricky Steamboat defeats Dick Slater for the NWA United States Heavyweight Championship. Oh, all right, that was a bit. All right, so moving on then, 10 years after that, 1994, which is 30 years ago today. On this date, 30 years ago today, Studio Junio's New Cutie Honey premiered on Japanese television on this date back in 1994. 30 years ago today, Studio Junio's along with anime, the OVA, the New Cutie Honey OVA, premiered on this date 30 years ago today.
I like Cutie Honey.
All right. And finally, on this date back in 1999, 25 years ago today, on this date 25 years ago today, the 25th issue of Resurrection Man from DC Comics premiered on this date back in 1999. Sold for $250, was 32 pages. The story was Millennium Then, written by Dan Abnett. Well, written by Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning. Penciled by Jackson Weiss. Inked by Paul C. Ryan. Lettered by Kenny Lopez. And colored by Carla Feeney. So, there you go with that. So with that, and before, of course, we wrap things up, I remember, so Apex saying he remembers Resurrection Man. All right, so with that, before we, of course, head out, and if you guys, as I said, can stick around for a couple minutes afterwards for post-show, that'd be appreciated. We're going to start with Rick to do the outros, and then everybody will have a chance to promote any projects they're doing, share any links. You guys know the shtick. Rick, go for it. You're starting with you.
Well, most everybody here knows me, so just if you don't, go check out my channel, Cross Comics, and subscribe.
And hopefully he'll come back for the post show, but I know he's having internet issues. So, anyways, and he made that pretty quick. So, all right, Elk, you're up.
Thanks. I do not have any projects ongoing right now. In the future, I hope to have the Elk Alberta Singles show in the future if I can drum up some more interest. So I've got a couple of little interviews of middle-aged single people in Alberta who might want their message spread a bit further through YouTube, like the Kendra G show does for Americans. And I'm hoping to have something in the future, but I don't have anything now.
Well, if you want, you can still share your channel link to where, so people know where to find you.
I don't even know how to do that. How does one share their channel link?
What you do is when you go to your YouTube page, right? When you go to your YouTube page, all you have to do is you know where the IP address is up top there, right?
The URL bar.
Yeah. Do I go to YouTube Studio or do I just go to?
No, so there's a thing that says your channel on the side options on YouTube, the menu that pops up, and you just go to
Right.
your channel, and you can take the link straight from there.
Yeah.
Apex says I'm
welcome
already
back, Rick.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Apex says I'm already subbed to Elk.
Yeah, we're working on Apex on Elk right now. We're trying to help him out.
Yeah.
With his link. So, and I guess this is your channel right here.
Yeah, that should be it. That's what I get when I do view my channel, then clip and paste the URL bar.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it, right there. There you go. You see, you got it there.
Yes, I am on the way to fame and fortune.
Yeah. So. All right. So now with that, well, anything else you want to add to that promo before we move on?
No, I am done. Thank you.
All right, Metal, you're up.
Yeah, well, hey, like I said before, I am the Metal. I create a lot of things. If you want to read any of my web novels or web comics, you can find it at xdynamuschaos.com, which you can currently see on the screen, or I'm dropping into the chat right now. Or if you want to watch either of my 2 weekly shows, Super Serial Showtime or Game Central Junction, you can find that over at the Vomitorium. That link I don't have handy because right now everything is running on my phone aside from StreamYard. But I believe it is youtube.com/Vomitorium Live. So it's pretty easy to find.
Yeah. Or you can just go to YouTube and just write in the Vomitorium. And
yeah, or either the shows. If you type in Game Central Junction, you'll find it too, or Super Serial Showtime.
Yeah.
And there's a link to your Vomitorium show on the X-Dynamus Chaos, isn't there?
No, I don't have those linked together. The Vomitorium has its own website for when I write news articles, which is a very rare occasion.
Yeah. And we're losing Rick again. So, anyways, and hopefully he'll be back in a moment here once StreamYard stops kicking him out. All right. So, anything more you want to add to that, Metal? Or
yes, if you have excess income for any reason, go to xdynamuschaos.com, go to the merch section, and buy my stuff. I like your money. I'm going to be upfront about that.
I will do that. I have much too much money lying around. Yeah, thanks for helping me get rid of some. It's a great idea.
You're welcome.
Anyway, all right. Well, with all that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. We'll be Rick, you'll be back with me tomorrow night, of course, for as my co-host for the Niche Newscast. Of course, Monday through Thursday we do the Niche Newscast, and then on Fridays we do the Historical Comics Retrospect. This week, as mentioned earlier, Apex will be joining me as we'll be looking at comics went on sale in in February 1940. We'll be looking at comics that went on sale from Fiction House. So we'll be looking at, of course, Sheena. We're looking at Jumbo Comics, Jungle Comics, Fight Comics, and Planet Comics. So with all that, I thank everybody for being here. And Elk was saying thanks for showing up. Yep. So with that, I thank everybody for being here, and we will see, and I will hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.